Hi, everybody. I'm Miss Jaime OT, and I'm so excited to be here with a Miss Jaime OT spotlight with an occupational therapist who works in the public schools. Her name is Courtney Ng. So, Courtney has quite an impressive bio. Courtney, I when I was reading your bio, I just felt like we had so much in common. So, you have your bachelor's in psychology. I actually have my bachelor's in OT, but you have your master's in OT.
I do.
Okay. And over 23 years of experience working as a public school OT. That's like identical to me, same thing. And you're in Kansas City,
Yes.
where that's where AOTA is going to be this year.
It is.
Are
Get
you
your
planning to
tickets
go?
now. I am.
That's cool. So you work in an urban school system. How many kids would you say are on your caseload?
Right now I have about 28, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but I'm also the mentor OT for 13 other occupational therapists.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've done, probably at least 6 screenings and 10 evaluations just already. And it's not even the end of first quarter. So I don't have as big of a caseload as some of our therapists, but that's because I wear a couple of other hats. So
Yes. Again, that's exactly how my schedule is at work. So, do you see kids on like certain days a week or half days and then do all your like administrative other stuff?
I do see kids 4 days a week. Fridays, I don't have any scheduled. Monday mornings, I've got a big block of time for evaluations and screenings. And then Thursday afternoon, I've got a block of time. So I see back-to-back kids on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and all Monday afternoons and Thursday mornings. So yeah, it's kind of a mixture.
Yeah. Which I love that part about
Yeah.
my job. Do you love that?
I do love it. Yes. I mean, there is never, that's how I've been able to stay in a district for this long is that
Mhm.
it's just the experiences have been so varied. The buildings, I've done like early childhood evaluations out at daycares for like 12 years with a team. I mean, just it's so varied that,
Yeah.
you don't get bored because,
It keeps it
yeah.
fresh and exciting.
Yeah. And a lot of variety.
Even though you have a structure, because I'm a structure person, like I need the structure, but I don't want it to be boring.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
So, one thing that really was intriguing to me when I was reading your bio is that you're a member of the trauma sensitive team for your district. What is that?
Yes.
What is that
Okay.
about?
So, at one of my elementary schools, and it's actually the biggest elementary school in our district. I think it has maybe 8. I know, I don't know. Every district is different with its school size, but for ours, it's the biggest elementary. We have a really functional team of myself, a play therapist, 3 different teachers, one kindergarten, one sixth, I think maybe another sixth, and then our vice principal that all get together once a month. And we've kind of developed basically lessons for our building on self-regulation. So I just felt like, an OT should be part of that team.
Yes.
So when they put like a call out to the building, like who wants to do this? I'm like,
Me.
hey, I love, sensory and trauma are like this. So,
Yes.
it
Yes.
makes sense to have an OT on there. So it's been fun. It's really been fun to collaborate with them and, especially the social worker, play therapist, counselor type. I think our school counselor is actually on it too. So we have 2 of the counseling, set. And we came up with like we broke it down into 5 different categories of like one was deep breathing, positive self-talk, there was seated movement, large movement, and then there was one other one that I'm forgetting. But I thought, well, gosh, if you're talking about seated movement and large motor movement, hello, this
Yes.
is your OT.
Yeah.
So I thought I needed to be on that team,
I
and it's
love
been a
that.
lot of fun. So
I'm so glad because
yeah.
it's those opportunities. And I was also reading in your bio that you're an advocate for your students. And it's like, it's those opportunities where not only are we able to advocate for our students, but we're advocating for our profession and
Right.
and for ourselves as professionals. So that's awesome. That's Really, really
Thank
must have
you.
been a cool
Thanks.
experience. So the reason that I reached out to Courtney was because she wrote this amazing testimonial about the Move, Play, Thrive course. And I just had to hear from her a little bit more about it, because she said that as a school therapist for 24 years, this course, more than any others that she's taken, has truly revolutionized the way she conducts her therapy sessions. To me, that right there, like, wow, because 24 years, that's nothing to sneeze at. That's a lot of experience, a lot of history, a lot of cases, a lot of kids under your belt. And to at this point in your career, because I'm identical in my career as you, to take a course that really changes the way you look at things is so cool. And I just had to hear more about it from you. So, what attracted you to take the Move, Play, Thrive course? Let's start there.
Well, I will say that I subscribe to your emails, Miss Jamie. So
Okay.
I'm a fan. And so I think that there was a link on there about a little like a video webinar with Sonia Story. And
Yes.
I think just reading the testimonials, I remember one specifically was from a physical therapist who I think had practiced about the same length of time as we had. And she said that if she only had one tool in her toolbox, this course would be it. And I'm like, wow, okay,
That's
maybe I should check this out.
that's
So
a bold
then when I watched the
statement.
video with you and Sonia, and I saw, I think she was just literally just demonstrating one of the rhythmic movements. And then, just reading all the parent testimonials and other, professional testimonials, I
Mhm.
was like, I think this would be worth looking into. So yeah, I'm
So
glad I
you
did it.
so you looked at the website and then you were a goner.
Yes. But yeah, it was worth it. Definitely
Mhm.
worth it. So
And I've heard from a I have another Miss Jaime OT follower that wrote me about it as well, and she took the course as a mom. She's a physical therapy assistant in a geriatric setting, but she subscribes to Miss Jaime as a
okay.
mom for her son, and she took it and she said the same thing. She was like, what she was wowed by the change. So
Yeah.
I also loved how you wrote it's shown you the why for the dysfunction that you see in your students, which I'm like, I know AOTA is a big proponent of top down, especially in the school setting, and I can really understand why, because we don't have a lot of time with our students, and we need to address what is the problem rather than kind of digging to find out why. But for me, and there are authors who agree with me on this, that the bottom up approach is important too. I like both. And so you felt that this course gave you an explanation about the why things were going on with your kids?
Yes, definitely. I mean, and I can think, when you think about this, you always do think of certain kiddos that I think now after I took the course and I've gotten into it some of it with some of them. And like you said, I don't use it with all of them.
Mhm.
And our time is so limited. I mean, most of my kiddos I see 30 minutes a week,
Right.
and when you've got goals that are written very functionally,
Yes,
very school based,
as they should be.
and plus you've got to do your progress reports every quarter and all of that.
Mhm.
You've got to have obviously a lot of top down data. But for those kiddos where there's so much going on and you're looking at them like something more's going on,
Yes.
what is it?
Yes.
I can think of this one little girl who she has such an unintegrated Maro reflex that she will literally, be in the middle of, let's say, cutting or whatever, any really motor task, and something startles her. And I mean, you just see this. And
Wow.
and before I took this course, I was just like thinking, well, gosh, she's very, tactily defensive, and this is just, but then after I took the course, I was like, oh, totally an unintegrated Maro reflex. Like
Wow.
that's why. That's why she's doing all of these this jerking. And it's sometimes you can't even predict when it's going to come on. And something you don't even think, I mean, even if you don't touch her, but something will startle her. And then I realized, oh, that's the Maro reflex. So
Wow.
I think it's situations like that where I'm like,
Mhm.
I am just soaking this up. Like I mean, I'm a geek, so
I'm
I
a geek
love
too.
learning. And I think the older I get, the more I like learning. I think when I was fresh out of school, I was just like, okay, I just got to do this job and know what I'm doing
Yes.
and, get everything done really well. And now I'm just like, oh, I'll get to the job, but like, teach me some new stuff. And it's
Yeah.
fun because now, I'm mentoring 13 new therapists, but honestly, I'm just wanting to pick their brains from, they've worked at other jobs. I've
Yes.
only worked in this district,
Right.
right? So I've had a lot of school-based experience, but like I'm trying to like have them present on different stuff and be like, hey, teach me this. Like,
Yeah.
show me this new assessment. Like, show me this new thing. And it's great. So yeah,
That's such
a
a
lot of fun.
wonderful part of, like, having a team to work
Yeah,
with.
definitely.
I'm kind of an island in my district. We do have other OTs, but everybody's contracted. So I'm the only OT, but I do love to meet and talk to other OTs. I love it. I'm a geek as
Me
well,
too.
but especially I love meeting and learning from new school therapists, like a new, and I think sometimes they're like, "Oh, I just graduated. I don't know anything. Don't, you know." And I'm like, "No, you're full of ideas and fresh, you know, invigoration. They're excited and engaged and they have great ideas that they just learned in school that they can share. And I love that. It's so exciting.
Yeah, it is fun. Yeah, because 'cause they're excited about it, so that
Yeah.
excites you, you know?
Definitely. That's awesome. I just love to hear about a course that I can recommend to other people, and whether you're a new therapist or an experienced therapist, and still get a lot of great information about it, which is just awesome. So one thing I wanted to bring up is, and it's so funny because I was preparing for our interview today, and last night my husband's like, "OT practice came," and I'm like, "Ooh," because I'm a geek, can't wait to read it. And there was a big article right in here. I don't know if you can see it, probably not, about choosing wisely. So AOTA puts out a Choosing Wisely program, which is basically an initiative from the American Board of Internal Medicine Foundation, basically designed to make sure that practitioners and patients are communicating and talking about the evidence behind what they're doing and why they're doing it. And AOTA puts the information out there. What should we be doing? Actually, more what shouldn't we be doing? And one of the things that AOTA put out, Choosing Wisely number 8, is don't use reflex integration programs for individuals with delayed primary motor reflexes without clear links to occupational outcomes. So I think it's so easy to read something quickly and be like, oh, we're not supposed to use reflex integration. But if you read the whole thing, it really goes back to what we learn on day one of OT school, which is everything has to go back to function. And it makes so much sense. Like, we wouldn't just give sensory input and not follow up with what we want the kid to be doing. And this is what this Choosing Wisely number 8 is about. Basically, what functional problem is the child having? If they're not having a functional problem, then we don't really even need to be seeing them. If you're finding a problem like you mentioned with the child who's is startling in the middle of a fine motor activity, then that would give you cause to look at the child's reflexes. In general, as a school-based occupational therapy evaluation, and I'm interested to hear what you do in Kansas, but in New York, as a school-based OT, I don't include a reflex integration assessment in my general evaluation. Do you?
I hadn't before this year. However, I have started to with a few students.
So
If I
so
see it, then, just kind of providing some information in the eval report about what functionally we see and those functional issues
Mhm.
are issues the kid has, which was
Okay.
why I did it in the first place.
Right.
But not every kid. I'm definitely not doing it on every kid. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
probably doing it on 50% or less.
Mhm.
Just depend. I mean, they're all different, and just the concerns, functional concerns of why you get the eval in the first place are all
Yes.
different.
Yes.
But yeah, I
Yeah. I'm more likely to look at a child, like, just like you said before, there's something there and you're like, "What is that? I just can't put my thumb on it." And after 23 years of of experience, usually, you know, like, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. But then you have those couple of kids where you're like, huh, what is it? And I'll test their reflexes, and more I'm like, oh, look at that. So I don't use it as a general rule. Like, I actually have an outline of everything I look at during an OT evaluation. I don't include a reflex assessment, but I definitely include it in my treatment once I get to know the child better. If I'm teasing out like what's impacting that function, because as AOTA says, it all needs to relate back to the child's occupation. Like, what is interfering with their ability to participate, whether it's in copying from the board or reading or, you know, catching a ball, whatever it is. If we're seeing something that we say that it looks like it could be a reflex that's integrated, that's, you know, causing that problem, then I'll look at it. But I thought it was interesting that AOTA's article literally just came out last night. And they talk, the woman who wrote the article is Amy Pillar, and she actually did a podcast with AOTA on the Everyday Evidence podcast. There is a whole episode about reflex integration programs and their use within sensory integration programs and within, you know, pediatric clientele. So I just wanted to bring that up because I think it's important. And then you had talked about the webinar where Sonia and I talked about rhythmic movements, and she demonstrates a couple of rhythmic movements in this presentation. And I just wanted to offer it to everybody who's watching today. We do still have access to that free webinar. It's available on demand. If you go to missjamieot.com/3 keys, you can sign up and you can watch it right away. No cost. It's just information for OTs. And I find Sonia very interesting to listen to. She's so knowledgeable, and she's a geek too. I hate to call anybody a geek, but I think she would admit that she's a geek because her website is so research based, and she's just so knowledgeable about the science and everything about the central nervous system and how it all coordinates. She's so interesting to listen to. So I highly recommend this webinar if you're interested in learning more about rhythmic movements or primitive reflexes and how they impact our kids, and how, most importantly, you can use the keys to overcome inattention and anxiety and sensory. Because I don't know about you, but I'm finding more and more kids on my caseload, the inattention is through the roof, and the anxiety more and more I notice since COVID. Are you seeing that as well?
Definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. It's through the roof. I mean,
Yeah.
every time I open my work email, I'm getting another email from
Yeah.
someone about some other kid with all of the above,
Yeah. Yeah.
honestly. And like, yeah, attention spans in my kiddos, I'm just like, wow, that's like literally, hey, hey, eyes, hey,
Mhm.
look,
I'm over here. I'm over
yeah, all the
here.
time for
We're
sure.
looking here. Definitely.
Yep.
So I was excited to just offer this free webinar to anyone who's interested in taking it. It's available right now. And it's, again, missjamieot.com/3 keys. And you can sign up and watch it today, tomorrow, whenever you want. And then if you're interested in learning more about the Move, Play, Thrive course that Courtney Ng was talking about and that she wrote that glowing testimonial about, the website for that is missjamieot.com/move, play, thrive. And we've also got a $25 coupon code for you. Thank you, 25. You can use that coupon code to get $25 off the tuition, because as Courtney said, it's not a cheap course and it's not a short course. It's pretty, how many hours is it? Do you remember?
I think it's
Yeah.
18.5. Yeah.
That's
And I did it over my
long.
summer break. So yeah, it was kind of my summer project. So
And that's a lot of learning.
yeah.
It's definitely a commitment. And I love that you said before we started recording, you were like, you went to Starbucks, you put it in, and Sonia is a very relaxing and just calming being. I'm always jealous of people like that because I feel like I'm like, "Rah." I'm always so loud and boisterous, and
Me too.
I'm like, how do you stay so calm all the time? I mean, it's great. I need a little bit. I need a teaspoon of that in my life.
For real.
When I did the original the 3 keys, I spoke to another school therapist, and she had said that when she took the course and she was doing all the movements and everything, she's like, I came home just so calm and relaxed. And,
Right.
like she really felt it in her own self from doing those movements,
Oh,
which,
I did too. It was incredible. Like I just
Mhm.
remember laying on my floor and doing that rhythmic movement 3, the one where you're prone and you're
Mhm.
back and forth. And I'm like, I almost fell asleep. Like it was fabulous.
So and that's what I also liked, because when I interviewed the physical therapy assistant, her name was Sonia Primo. I do have that video on my blog as well. She said that she's using some of the movements with her adult patients as well. And I just love that. Courtney, I can't thank you enough for coming on to share your experience with us and with all the other OTs too. I love to share information about a course or anything that we can use to help our kiddos. We know, and especially being an OT for so many years, it is so exciting to find a course that still kind of energizes you and lights you up.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your time with us today.
Well, thank you. I was very excited to hear from you. And I'm like, wow, it's like meeting a celebrity. It's like
No,
you're
no,
always in my inbox,
no.
you're always in my work email. And now here you are. So thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
I'm so glad to have met you. It's great.